So let me introduce myself. My name is Banu. I lead partnerships and engagement at NAYA. NAYA is a social mobility network that makes inclusion simple. We are removing the barriers to opportunity by connecting organizations to our global community of underrepresented people. So we enable the underrepresented people to access global tech data jobs and internships, a community of mentors and peers, free events, workshops, hackathons, and training opportunities, wider social mobility resources to support their personal and professional development. So you will get access to the Candidate and Engagement Hub. On the Candidates Hub that you can see on the slides, we host all the information, resources, and recommendations on how to successfully find a tech and data job via our platform. On the Engagement Hub, we host all the tech and data job opportunities. So currently, over 100 employers are hiring through NAYA, and we are offering special offer, which is a £500 sign-on bonus to any candidate who finds a job through the platform, plus £250 if anyone you refer does. So let your network and friends know about NAYA. So in order to hear about job opportunities, free training, and future events, you will need to sign up and create your free profile on NAYA's platform. Later on, I'll paste NAYA's platform link in the chat to register. I will also paste a link to a video which it shows you step-by-step on how to create your profile on NAYA's platform. Great. So now is the time to introduce you all to our fantastic guest speakers. Hussein is the co-founder of Refugee JumpStart. He is a former refugee and lawyer from Syria, a recruiter and an activist for refugee rights in Europe. He graduated from the University of Aleppo as a lawyer before he was displaced during the war and began his journey to the Netherlands, where he now lives. Along the way, he volunteered among the camps in Gaziantep in Turkey and several projects in Athens, Greece. And our second guest speaker is Bev. She's also the co-founder of Refugee JumpStart. She's an ICF-certified Leadership Coach and a leadership and team development trainer and consultant in Los Angeles, California. She has over 35 years of experience in the corporate and nonprofit sectors, helping individuals and teams develop their potential and skills. Now over to you, Hussein and Bev, to lead the rest of the session. And thank you so much once again for joining us.
Thanks, Banu. Thanks, Nia, for this opportunity. I mean, it's like I just want to speak a bit about Refugee JumpStart, and I'm gonna start with, we are alignment. We are making, both organizations are interested in helping people with potential to be able to succeed and helping to overcome obstacles along the way. As you said, I don't need to introduce myself right now, so you just introduced me. So I just want to start with my story and why I co-founded Refugee JumpStart. It won't be too long. It's just like a couple of lines, and then it's like I'm gonna deliver it to Bev to start the webinar or the 90 days. The first 90 days. So basically, when I came to the Netherlands, I was so confused, facing culture shock and suffering from a trauma. I didn't know how to practice law because it's like I have a lawyer or law background in a foreign country here in the Netherlands. I was struggling to find something to match my education and experience. Like most refugees who resettled in Europe, we haven't had any guidance or a body to help guide us to prosper in the host country. Listening to other refugee stories made me think I wasn't alone in needing guidance. I was always just like speaking with refugees because I co-founded also a couple of stuff back in Athens and Greece and also here. So all of them suffered from the same problem: no guidance, no help, no thought partner to help us think things through. That's why Refugee JumpStart was founded. Through a series of connection, I met Bev Weise, and Bev, who was a leadership coach, explained to me how career coaching could help us to empower ourselves to take control of our own life and also focus on our career goals. And also to help us build self-confidence, which is like the most important thing. As a refugee, I was always suffering from this, especially when I was working with international organizations. Self-confidence, number one. And also to keep us accountable and in action toward our own goals. So I'm going to end it here and say, just like, if you are interested in learning more about Refugee JumpStart, you can find us on refugeejumpstart.org. Of course, it's like we have specific criteria. If you speak English, have a degree, or have a strong experience, solid experience, you can apply directly through the link in the chat box. Banu, can you please just like put the link in the Zoom chat? Once we speak with you, we will match you with a suitable coach or a mentor that best matches your interests and in your needs. Our seasoned coaches and mentors are from countries worldwide, from the United States, the UK, Canada, the Netherlands, Poland, Greece, and Ireland. We look forward to working with you to help you reignite your career. Now, thank you, and back to you, Bev.
Well, thank you. And thanks, Naya, for this opportunity to present. And I love how people are coming from all over. All you Colombians, how'd you get on this call? I love it. Just briefly, I've worked most of my life in corporate settings, in large businesses, and nonprofits. And in 2016, I decided to volunteer in a refugee camp on my own in Chios, Greece. And it sort of was life transforming. Coming from a leadership development and talent management background, all I saw was wasted potential. I saw smart people, educated people, wasting their lives away in a refugee camp. It was just, so it took me 4 years to kind of figure out what to do. And I met Hussein, and the rest is history. So he's been my guide in this whole process. So I want to tell you about, I started a succession planning process, which is identifying the top leaders in a major aerospace company at Northrop Grumman and setting up a process for 55,000 people. How do you identify the top people to take over the top 120 jobs? So I learned a lot about, I'm not ready for that yet. I learned a lot about how to get people ready, how they're viewed by senior management, how people are viewed and what it is. And working in human resources for many years, I picked up some things that I want to share with you that I think is relevant. That plus my experience working with refugees. Okay, you got this new job and you're delighted, you tell your friends, you work hard, you finally get there. And then you're a couple days into it, the reality sets in. Oh my God, what did I do? I am so over my head and trying to figure it all out. And I don't know if you know the term imposter syndrome, but the imposter syndrome is when you think you're fooling somebody because they all think you're something and you're not. So you've got this fake facade, this fake face. You feel like I'm a fraud. I don't belong here. I have no idea what I'm doing. I fooled them into hiring me. They think I can do this and I'm clueless. I will not be able to do this. It's only a matter of time before they'll find me out and they're going to send me on my way. They're going to fire me. There's no way I can do this job. So I just want to say, just know you're not alone. I don't know anybody who starts a job that's a little bit of a jump for them that doesn't feel the same thing. Right now, I've got private clients. I've got an executive director of a legal aid organization who has 110 lawyers who work under her, and she came from poverty. She's a Latina woman, and she still feels that way. And she's executive director, and it's taken her a long time to get there. So at times, she still feels that way. So you're not alone. And I don't know if you've heard the expression, fake it till you make it. Fake it, pretend like you know what you're doing, and you do it enough times that, oh, I guess I'm not faking it anymore. I guess I'm really doing this. And so the fake it till you make it, you might hear that expression, and that's what it's about. Pretend like you know what you're doing within limits. We'll talk more about asking questions and that sort of thing. So you're about to set out on this new journey. It's very exciting. You've got this new job. Sometimes it's uncomfortable and it might be anxiety producing because it's like on a computer, you're loading it up. But you folks who are refugees or working with refugees, you have it extra challenging. You are dealing with, I have to put on my timer here, a new culture in a new country with a new language that maybe you're not that fluent in yet. And so that's going to be challenging. Then you've got this new organizational culture. And the organization, every organization has their own culture. It's not that when we talk about organizational culture, it's not the culture of the country. It's a culture of, if you're working in tech, it's a startup culture where you're just moving fast and everybody does everything, versus, an aerospace culture where it's very techy, but more bureaucratic, and it's different and it's slower and it's, so you have to get a feel for the culture. We'll talk more about. You're going to be dealing with new knowledge and skills. They hired you because you do have some skills and you do have some knowledge. It might be old for you, but you've got to renew that. But also, you're going to have to learn a lot. Any new person in any job is going to have to learn a lot. So you're not alone. You've got to develop new working relationships. There has been studies on taking very successful leaders at one company and they get hired in another company. And sometimes they're not as successful because their whole network of people who they were able to influence and influence them are gone now. And it takes like 6 months to kind of get your feet on the ground, build relationships. And the working relationships is huge. And you've got to build it. You've got to build those relationships. If you're like me, whenever I started a new job, it was information overload. It's like you're taking in a lot of information. I would go home, have dinner, and go to sleep. It was like exhausting. And then there's a whole internal pressure to succeed. It's like, I finally get this job. I've been unemployed a long time. I just got out of school and took a new course. I really have to make this successful. So you're adding on a lot of other pressure. Plus, you've all got your own trauma and you've all got all your other stuff you're bringing, your family, whatever the issues are. So you are dealing with a lot, but just know you're not alone. I think some of the things are unique to refugees, but some of them are the lack of confidence sometimes and the overload. That's kind of normal. And the feeling like you're a fraud. So I'm just going to hit on 5 different things that I think might be helpful to get started on the right foot. Clarifying expectations with your boss, how to accelerate your learning, how to learn pretty fast, how to secure early wins, like be successful in your 90 days in one thing that's important, build alliances and build your networks, and self-management, which is maybe one of the most important things. So clarify expectations. Managing upward. They say there's different skill sets to manage upward, which is your boss and higher management, to manage sideways, getting along with your team members, and to manage down if you supervise somebody. So it's a different skill set, but you have to pay attention to that. And when you're new on the job, the only person who really matters is your boss. That is whose expectations you have to really match. And so here's some clues about how to find out about the expectations. Because there can be, with language, miscommunications. They could be saying one thing, you think they mean something else, but they mean something else. So work style preferences. You want to find out how your manager what their style is. Do they want to know every little step that you're doing? Do they want to just say, come back to me in a week with these results? Like, what is it exactly that they're looking for? What's their style? And then share what your style is. I work better when, XYZ, this is kind of my style. How will that work with your style? Hot buttons. Hot buttons are things that will drive your boss crazy. And it's different things for different people. Like, we all have our own hot buttons. Hot buttons are things that will get them really upset really quickly. It could be you said you were going to have something by Friday and you delivered it on Wednesday. That could be a hot button. It could be a hot button that if you're not working remotely and you come into work, you continually come 30 minutes late. That could be drive them crazy. So trying to figure out, probably your peers, the people you work with, will know your boss's hot buttons more than they can share it with you, but just be aware of it. The one thing that's really important is to clarify priorities. You might have, your boss will be maybe all over the map telling you all the things you need to do, but you need to say, what is your top priority? In the next 90 days, what would you like to see me accomplish? And it could be just learning a program or a new system or a process, who knows? But you got to find out what their priorities are. You have to be really clear on what your goals are. They may not be written, but you have to kind of force the issue. It's like, what goals do you have in mind for me? What do you need me to accomplish in the next 30 days? What would you like to see happen? Information and resources. So in order for me to do my job, is there something you would recommend I need to read? People I need to talk to? Do I need a laptop? Do I need a training on a program that I have to use? Like, what do you think will help me get, they might volunteer all this, but I'm just saying, if they haven't volunteered it, you should be asking about it. And who are your key stakeholders? Your stakeholders is somebody who has a stake or an interest in you and your performance. So we'll talk more about a stakeholder, but you want to know who your stakeholders are. And the other thing is, how will your performance be evaluated or reviewed? How will you know if you're doing a good job? And I think you need to invite feedback. You need to say, I welcome your feedback. If there's something I'm not doing that's quite right, please let me know. If I'm doing something right, let me know that too. I just kind of I'd like to know where I'm at and how I could keep getting better. So that's the first point. The second point is accelerate your learning. And there's a few ways to do that. And one is you've got to ask questions. Now, let me tell you the biggest concern I have based on my experience working with refugees for the last 6 years or so. Many of you are just, and culturally, are so nice. And you don't want to confront, you don't want to force the issue. You want to pretend like you know what you're doing, which all of us do. But the danger is if your boss delegates some work to you and you're shaking your head and they say, do you understand? You go, yeah. And you really don't. Or maybe you think you do, but it's different. That's going to be worse for you than doing something, they think you're doing this and you're agreeing and you're going off this direction. And then you're really going to get in trouble because you've done the wrong thing. You want to be sure that you're listening to them, you're asking questions, and then you're actively listening. And active listening is a skill set. I did a workshop on this in Greece with our clients, Refugee JumpStart clients, last time I was in Athens a few months ago. Actively listen is where you're really being present. You're listening to the person. Your body language tells them that you're listening. You're giving them eye contact. Maybe you're taking notes, but you're demonstrating that you're really paying attention. So you're looking at them in the eye. And here's the other thing. It's part of an active listening skill is paraphrasing and summarizing. I think it's really important if you're speaking not in your foreign language, that when you've heard something that is about what you're going to need to do, that you summarize it back to the person giving you the delegation. For an example, you'd say, okay, so let me see if I understand this. What you'd like me to do is this, and you want me to talk to these 3 people, and you want me to do this, that, and the other. And they will either say, yeah, that's right, or equally good, they'll say, no, that's not quite right. I also want you to be doing this, because sometimes they did not communicate well. It's not just that you did not understand. They think they were crystal clear, but maybe they weren't. So I think the summarizing is a really important skill to develop. And you could say, so let me summarize if I heard you right. Or maybe even sending an email afterwards, say, okay, so here's my understanding of what I need to do. I mean, you will get major points with your manager if you take that initiative to really clarify. You want to build a network. And again, culturally, I have to say my experience is that you're many of you lacking in network building skills. It's like back home, my Syrian refugee co-founder tells me, you call up your uncle. You want a job, you call your uncle, make a connection for me. You call your cousin. That's your network. Not so here. You've got to build your own network. You've got to be on LinkedIn. You've got to be on LinkedIn. And you've got to build a network internally in the company that you work. And a network are people who can be buddies with you. Try to find a friend. People stay on jobs longer if they have a best friend at work. A lot of research on that as well. You want to build a network of people who can advise you and that you could help, and that you share information and collaborate. And if you need something, you know where to go. You know, if you can, go out for coffee with them. Personal relationships, and that part, I think you folks are probably better at than we are in terms of having that informal kind of conversations with people. Create a learning plan for yourself. After you're there for a week or so, say, okay, there's 100 things I need to do, but what my top 5 priorities right now, I've got to learn this computer program. I have to meet these 3 people, and I have to do something else. How am I going to go do that? So create a priority for yourself and how you're going to learn. And think about how you learn the best. Do you learn by reading? In which case, let them give you a lot of information. Do you learn better by talking to people, asking questions? Like, how do you learn the best? Going on the internet, but figure out how you learn the best and go for it. Okay, so just a few words about culture, because I think it's important. You got to learn about the company culture where you're working and try to adopt it. I mean, unless you're being unethical, culture is something, it's like the climate in an organization. And I'll tell you more in a second. When people are recruiting people and either they accept them or they don't, or if they sometimes let them go, the umbrella term they often use is, you know, he just wasn't a good fit. A good fit could mean anything. It could mean that culturally you're too different. It could mean that you're just not picking it up fast enough. It means that you're rubbing people the wrong way. It could be, it's a big pail of whatever they want it to mean. You want to try to avoid that. Sometimes you can't. Sometimes people are biased and you can't. But to the extent that you can understand the culture and fit in a little bit would be good. So for an example, when I got my MBA, I remember we had an exercise called organizational sensing. We had to go to a store. I went to a bookstore in near UCLA, University of California, Los Angeles. And I just hung out there for 30 minutes. And I just watched everybody work. I looked at the cashier. I watched the customers. I watched, you know, how the salespeople were interacting with each other. I learned so much. You can tell if people collaborate. Is it a fun place to work? Do they joke with each other? Are they wasting time a lot? Are they helping customers? Like you can tell, are they smiling? Like you can tell a lot just by observing. So I would recommend spend some time. And again, I'm assuming some of you are going to be working either hybrid or working in person. But even on a Zoom call, you could sense kinds of things. Are they welcoming and inclusive? They might be talking about, oh, we're into DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. We welcome people. We have policies to include people who are different. and they're really trying, and sometimes they miss the mark on an individual level. You know, be prepared for people asking you your story. They've met you for 5 minutes and they're going to say, oh, so you left Afghanistan. When did you come? How did you come? Oh, that must have been horrible. Tell me your story. So I'm sure that's not the first time you've heard these things, but you have to figure out what your comfort level is and what your boundaries are, especially with people who you don't know really well. You might want to build up trust with them before you spill your guts out. And then maybe it might be nice to be able to share your story with somebody who's empathetic. But just, they're doing it not from a bad motive. You're just really different maybe than what they're used to, and they're really interested. So their intention is probably good, just so you know that. You want to see if it's an informal or what happened? An informal environment, or is it more formal and bureaucratic? Small companies are going to be more informal. Larger companies might be more formal and bureaucratic. Are people within the organization competitive, or do they really help each other? Do they take time out to work with you and share information? Are they working really long hours and everybody, you know, your boss is the first one in and the last one out? That sends a little message. Or is there somewhere there is more, again, this might be a very US centric kind of thing. A lot of this might be US centric, so my apologies. Are they work long hours, or is there a career-life balance? Are they concerned? You know, I've got a client who works in a transport company who's head of HR. They set a policy that they automatically send emails. If they're sending it on a Friday night, they send it so it opens on Monday morning, so that you don't have to be bothered with emails on the weekend. They've got a certain setting because everybody was going crazy working 24/7. So, you know, that's part of the culture that they're developing there. Okay, so and clothing, you know, how people dress. So sense the organization. All right, number 3 is secure early wins. Early in your tenure, try to do something that's going to be noticeable and that's going to give you high marks, because you want to confirm that they hired the right person. You want to say, it's kind of like the after sales is like, after you buy something, let's say if you're a woman, you buy a nice dress somewhere, and afterwards you're leaving, you've already paid, and the salesperson said, wow, that dress was such a bargain and you look so great in it. She didn't have to say that. It was after the sale, but the kind of reconfirming, okay, I bought the right thing. It was a good decision for me. The same thing here. You want people to HR and your boss to say, oh, that was a good hire. A term I've heard is a sticky hire. It sticks. So find out what is the priority. And here's another thing. People don't like to brag. And there's a lot of, especially women are known for this, that they work quietly, they work really hard, and they go unnoticed. Because usually there's a lot of men above them. And oftentimes, sometimes they'll take credit, sometimes no, but they're not noticed. You need to figure out a way that you could self-promote to promote yourself without being obnoxious. I'm still working on it. Like, how do you promote yourself? And maybe it's in a conversation. Oh, you know, I was so excited I was able to complete this. You know, we were backlogged on all these things, and I don't know how, somehow I managed to get through all 50 of them. You know, wow. You know, something to pass the word out that you are being successful. And again, it should be on something that's important to your company or to your management. And that's going to be hard to do in 90 days when you're just learning. So I get that. But choose another expression, low-hanging fruit. Something that is easy for you because you're already good at it, because you've got the skills, you've got a natural strength in that area. You think you could reach a good result fairly quickly because it's not a huge effort. Whereas some of the other assignments might be a lot of effort till you get on board and speed it up. I build alliances with key stakeholders, and you're going to have different stakeholders. Your boss, and think about what is your stakeholder, what's important to your stakeholder. Your boss wants results. They might love you, they might be nice and warm, but bottom line, you might have your trauma, you might have your stuff going on, and they're going to be empathetic for a while, but they want results. So figure out, if you're dealing with a lot of stuff, figure out how you're going to still hang in there and deliver what you need to deliver, okay? Your peers, who are going to be your buddies, hopefully, They're interested in trust. They want to know if they can trust you. You want to know if you can trust them. Are you a team player? Do you share information? Are they willing to share information? So get in good with your peers. Human resources. They're going to be concerned with compliance. They want to make sure, they probably did recruitment. It looks bad if they hire somebody and then they got to let them go, or after, 6 months, they don't work out. They want you to be successful because it makes them look good. It's all about what other people want for themselves. That's one thing I've learned. So DIE, diversity, they might be in charge of diversity, equity, and inclusion. So you're an extra point for them if you're a refugee. So they're showing, oh, we're diverse, whether or not they're inclusive, they might have policies that way. That's why one of the things we're moving toward in Refugee JumpStart is we want to do coaching for refugees in companies, because we believe they need some additional support, building of self-confidence, learning about the culture. So we're trying to provide that through DEI and through HR and other companies. If any of you know of companies who are interested in that, let us know. Your customers and clients, which that's the main reason probably you're in business. You're going to have, or your company is going to have clients. They're interested in service. They don't care that it was a problem, you didn't get the information you needed. They don't care. They want results, which is service to them. And then you've got to find out who your other key stakeholders are. Who is vested interest in you being successful, basically, and how to appeal to them. Self-management is probably the most difficult and probably the most important, right? So it's, by the way, there's a concept of emotional intelligence. There's an IQ, an intelligent quotient, it measures your brain power. You've got a high IQ, it means you're really smart. What they have found is that people who are really successful, it's not the IQ nearly as much as the EQ, the emotional quotient, the EQ, and there's tests on that also. That, and part of it's like 4 things, but one of them is self-management, which is probably the most important. How you manage your time, you manage your priorities, you manage your emotions, you manage yourself to move forward. So setting goals, making a plan for yourself, be patient, be tolerant with yourself. Don't let it erode your self-confidence and get rid of your self-confidence because, in the first month, you're not like at the top of the rung of employees. It's going to take you, I think, about 6 months till you finally feel like, oh, I think I get it. And it'll take 3 months till you're feeling like maybe I'm on the way. So give yourself a break, okay? And just know you're not alone feeling this. Stay focused. Don't go off doing a million things. Figure out what your high priorities are and go for it. Reach your goals, work hard. I think you're going to have to work hard and check out how other people are working also. That means sometimes you take work home at night, especially until you go over this learning curve in the first 90 days, which is the onboarding process, which, by the way, in companies I'm familiar with, 90 days they give you to see whether or not they can let you go without having to deal with a lot of legal stuff. So at least in the US, it's a 90-day onboarding process, and they have the right to kind of let you go if it's really a bad fit. But you have to be a pretty poor performer or really missing the mark in some way. If you pass the 90, and they know that you're not going to be at the top of your game after 90 days. So you just have to work hard and try to accomplish your goals and stay organized. Okay, here's my tips, some additional tips. Be realistic with your deadlines. Deliver on time. So there's an expression, undercommit and overdeliver. If somebody asks you to do something and they say, when can you do it by? And you think you're going to need, you could do it by Friday, by Wednesday, but you're not sure. If it's okay with them, say, I could get it to you Thursday or Friday. And if they push back, then say, okay, I'll make an effort to get it by Wednesday. If they say Friday's fine, deliver it on Wednesday. So you're undercommitting. You're not doing really challenging goals for yourself that you're going to be held accountable to, but then over deliver. If you get a package in the mail, I don't know if you all have the Amazon, if they say you're going to get it in 5 business days and I get it in 3, I love Amazon, right? So it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's like undercommit and overdeliver. Another important thing, no surprises for your manager. No manager wants a surprise. No manager wants to hear on the day that something was due, you say, I didn't get the information I need. I'm not going to have it for another week. And then they look awful for their management. If you find something's not going right, give them a heads up. That means tell them in advance what's going on. Say, I just want to give you a heads up. I don't know if you know the word heads up. I just want to give you a warning, an early warning that we're having issues with this, the computer, whatever. And we're still trying to get to that time frame, but it might be delayed. I just want you to be aware of that, or it might cost more money than what we thought originally. But whatever the issue is, let them know beforehand. Maybe they have some suggestions on how to solve it, who to talk to get additional help, but don't leave it to the last minute. And don't be afraid that you're avoiding it because you don't want to look bad. You look bad if you give them a surprise. Learn from failures. We all have them. I guarantee you will have them in the first 90 days and probably after. You're going to try things that's not going to work. That happens to everybody. If you listen to some of the biggest entrepreneurs, they will all tell you how they started these ideas, 15 different ideas. They lost a ton of money. And yet they built huge companies afterwards. So the important thing is not to take the failures as a personal failure for yourself, but to say, okay, this did not work. Why didn't it work? What am I going to do differently next time? So I think learning from failures is really important. Manage your stress. You're going to have stress on a new job, any new job. And, honestly, you've got built-in other stress, but also other people you work with are going through a divorce. Somebody in their family died. Everybody's got their stuff. Everybody's got some kind of trauma. Yours probably maybe wins for traumas for some of you of what some of the things that you've gone through and are going through. But you have to figure out a way. You wouldn't get to where you are now, which is successfully completing courses or applying for jobs in your field. You wouldn't get there unless you've known how to be resilient. You've got to learn to be resilient. Pay attention if you're physically getting stressed, you're overeating, you got aches and pains, you're tired. God, I think I qualify for all of that. I better watch my stress levels. Emotional, you can't make decisions. You're anxious, you're depressed, whatever. So when you see those things about yourself, do whatever you do. Go take a yoga class, go do some running, go, if you have a therapist you could talk to a best friend, find ways to relieve your stress level. Don't just not show up at work. Don't just cancel unless you really have to. I see it too much, people will cancel sessions sometimes with our coaches. I can't focus today, whatever. To the extent that you can, meet your commitments, because that's how you build trust. And the whole 90 days is about building trust. Do whatever you need to do to build trust, that people could rely on you. You say you're going to do something, you do it, unless you really, really can't. And be self-confident. Okay. I can't tell you how many times we've talked with potential clients or clients. They start off with, well, I'm not really that very good at this, but, or you know this much better than I. Or if that's how you start your conversations, snap out of it. You do not want to share all your weaknesses at the beginning, right? It's like be self-confident, because you're pretty amazing. I mean, you've got it all over other people in terms of resilience, in terms of discipline, in terms of pushing through obstacles. You've got all the qualities that will make you successful at work. You just have to it's called transferable skills, transferable qualities. Take those qualities, and I would write it down, of all the things that have gotten you to the place that you are now, like the resiliency and the strength, the personal strengths and the determination, all that. Make another column and say, this is how I'm going to apply this in my job, because many people do not have that. So it's pretty, I'm in awe of all of you who have gone through so much and pushing forward and being successful.
Finally, I'd like to say thank you so much, Bev. Thank you so much, Hussein, for your time and for giving us all this valuable information. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. We would love to keep in touch with all of you. So please stay in touch, follow us on social media, or register on NICE platform or Refugee JumpStart's platform as well. So we are here to help you and to provide you with great opportunities such as this one. So would you like to share anything at the end, Bev and Hussein?
Yeah, well, for me, I just want to thank you all. And if any of you are, refugees or asylum seekers and you can legally work where you are, you speak English, you've got a bachelor's degree or more, or really solid work experience and could benefit from working with a coach, it's free. Let us know. And I think the link was earlier on the chat. I don't know if you could put it on again, but apply and somebody will be in touch with you.
Yeah, I can put it again in the chat right now. Here is the link. And regarding the slides, we will email them to all of you, also with the recordings of the session as well. So yeah. Hussein, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you all. Just like I want to thank all of you for joining us, and thank you, Banu and Naya, for organizing this amazing webinar. And thank you, Bev. Always, I'm learning from you.
I learn from you every day.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you once again.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Take care.
Of course. Take care, everyone. Have a lovely evening. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.